Well, good morning, everybody, from Fargo, North Dakota. I got in pretty late last night. There's some rough weather around the Fargo area with some light snow and then some blowing snow. And my Uber driver, who was from Kenya, who was rocking out here to a little bit of a great white as we were driving through this area, was just commenting on what he thought about the climate of North Dakota, being from Kenya. And we got in a little conversation, and I just never forget what he said. He goes, 8 months of the year, I love it up here. He goes, but the climate during these 4 months is absolutely terrible. And I said, I completely understand what you're dealing with here. Well, let's kind of dig into what we did see over the last 72 hours in terms of snowfall. There's relatively light amounts in the northern plains, okay, and some throughout the Rocky Mountains, and even out here into the western plains of Montana and Wyoming. But the system that came out of New Mexico, we can start to now see some of the very heavy snowfall amounts that it did produce, like in parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. Now, what's making this very challenging here was that it took a while for some of this to convert over from rain into snow. And so the snow's got a lot of liquid in it. It's a very dense snow, but we're going to continue to watch this system move on off to the east. Just looking this morning as the sun was rising on where that system is located here, we can just see that the main frontal boundary to the south of it will continue to produce strong to severe storms. They're going to be here in northern Florida. That'll stretch all the way up into the mid-Atlantic later on today. But this is a pretty mature cyclone. On the backside, we're going to see some wraparound snow, and we're also going to see some heavy snows kind of spread to the north of it. So we'll take a close look at that in just a few seconds here. Just want to report, though, that last night, according to the Storm Prediction Center, there were 20 tornado reports from parts of Texas all the way over to the Florida Panhandle. And to be honest, this was a major score, major success for the Storm Prediction Center on getting this right. It was a very challenging forecast, and I think they did an absolutely great job on this. So later today, their risk for severe storms, like you just saw in the satellite, is going to stretch right into this area. We could get some locally heavy rain out of this as well, because some of these storms just yesterday were capable of putting down up to 3 inches of rain as they went through. So today, our all hazards weather map kind of reflects that system, but starts to show some of the changes we're going to be seeing here coming out of the Canadian Prairie very soon. So winter storm warnings still in parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, stretching into Ohio and parts of Michigan and into the interior of New England. All of this is high wind watch down here. And all these little polygons you see are all places where we have flood warnings out. Strong winds in Southern California. Got a winter storm watch out for parts of Montana, plus high wind watches and advisories here as well. So this setup of this next system coming through here is going to be quite impressive. Now, as you come over here farther into the Pacific Northwest, what we're really looking at here is the effect of having very stagnant air because of the split flow across the west, which is what's keeping this particular area dry. But coming back to the two main systems we're going to be watching, I'm going to start you off in the northeast. Look at the National Digital Forecast Database total snowfall forecast. Again, very challenging into this area, but I'm buying more into the snowfall amounts we're seeing into New England here overall from now all the way through Saturday morning. And you can see some of the wraparound snow that'll be on the back side of this, but some of this is going to be aided here in the upper Midwest by a front that sweeps through, delivering some more snow here later this week. And that front, as it comes through, is going to add another corridor of snow right into this area here, coming into parts of the Dakotas out of Wyoming and Montana. So let's go have a look at this. We're going to use the high-res NAM to kind of get a good picture of it. Let's pick up with where we are this morning, about 7 o'clock when I was recording this. So you can see the low continuing to spread toward New England. There could be some ice in parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania out of this and along the Appalachian Mountains. But by this afternoon, the main front has cleared the Appalachian Mountains and raining very heavily throughout the mid-Atlantic, right down here through the Carolinas and into Florida. Again, there's the snow on the back side of this. Now, as you watch one system exit, keep an eye right here as well as we go through, again, Wednesday afternoon and evening. You can see, okay, there's some light snow coming through here as the wraparound on the back side of this where there's some colder air gives us more snow showers and a few snow squalls down here. Again, this is overnight tonight to tomorrow morning, Tennessee, Kentucky, pushing up against the Appalachian Mountains. But take a look at this next front coming through. See it right up there? I'm talking about coming out of Saskatchewan into Manitoba, North Dakota, and into Montana. There will be some warm air with this, but behind it is some incredibly cold air. But that's going to be pushing in. See this? It's going to be pushing in some more snow right through the northern plains into the upper Midwest. And here comes the big event right here in terms of the presence of this really cold air pushing up here against the Rocky Mountains, So Let's see where this goes, and before we do that though, let's see what's going to be changing. So I put this in the report today. Just want to show you, these are the precip stats up till this point in the year, so from the first of the year till now. So to see moisture coming into these areas is critical. To see moisture that just came through this area, again, critical, and we're going to start to erase some of these deficits here as well, and maybe parts of northern Florida too. But on the temperature side of it, this is going to be a map that's going to change a lot by the end of this month and the start of February. So while we're going to remember January as being extremely mild, the very end of it's going to be punctuated with a pretty large Arctic outbreak. And here's what things look like by Thursday. You can see the high amplitude flow, see the large ridge just off the coast. This will be reinforcing this deeper trough forming here over the Hudson Bay. And it seems as though, there we go, that locked up there. But what this is going to do is this is going to kind of reinforce a pattern that's going to do something like this with a large subtropical ridge here. And I tried to highlight that in today's report on what this pattern is really going to look like by putting this kind of image together for you here. Now with this pattern, okay, heavy rains will be to the south of the jet stream, kind of riding the subtropical ridge, which is just pumping the moisture into this. But I am concerned about the overrunning with this next system early next week that could give us the shot for ice here. To the north, it'll all be snow, and the west will have to wait on the pattern to break down and become more zonal to get some more precipitation out of it. So I want to show you that ice. Now this, again, is really next Monday into Wednesday, the next system coming through. You can see from Texas and Oklahoma, cutting through Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, into parts of the eastern Great Lakes. This could be the corridor we're going to have to watch for the potential for some ice accumulation. Now, a lot could change between now and when this system gets there, including its track, but I just want you to let you see kind of the latest information I have on it. So why don't we go right to the European model and get a good idea on this. So here's system number one, the one we just talked about moving through New England. All right. Behind that, there's the snow showers. There's the clipper that's producing that front that's coming through, delivering the snow to the upper Midwest. And again, the European model is trying to switch this over to a colder rain, whereas the NAM did not. Did you notice that? But what we do know is that behind it is some really cold air. So as that clipper goes toward Ontario, we do see behind it the snow pushing in for this upcoming Friday, getting into Friday night and Saturday. Now here's the low that I'm going to have to start watching next Sunday. So you do see how that kind of clipped right through here. Well, we do have a larger ridge in place, which means we're going to be putting moisture in warmer air, and the situation sets up right in through here for some overrunning. So this is now Sunday morning, afternoon, and evening. Stronger storms south, possibly some good moisture coming into California and throughout the central Rockies. But this will be the system we're going to keep an eye on. It's really the contrast between two pressure systems. Very high pressure here and high pressure here, and run it through the middle is where we get the convergence, the rising motion. So that overrunning could lead, see it right in through here? This is, again, let's start you off. This is Monday midday through Tuesday and Wednesday. That'll be our next big system we're going to keep a close eye on running through the mid part of the country. And there is support, as you saw here, for heavy snow on the northern side, a band of ice and freezing rain and sleet, and then to the south of it, storms and some heavy rain. So that kind of takes us out there, a week in this pattern. So let's keep an eye on that one early next week. Chances of getting more than an inch of rain are shown here. Let's step it up. This is the probability of getting 2 inches of rain out of this. And if we flip this over to the snow side of it, how about the probability, whoops, wrong one. There we go. Probability over the next 10 days of getting 3 inches is shown here, 6 inches of snow, and finally 12 inches. So you can kind of pick out your region and see what we're seeing there. From this point, though, I got to talk about this temperature change. So let's walk through the next 7 days of high temperatures. Those are the numbers. And then the shading represents the anomalies. So here's that mild air that's trying to come in on Thursday, but watch this be replaced quickly as we go into Friday and then into Saturday. Look at that. So a large Arctic front will be coming through Friday into Saturday, and it's going to deliver quite a bit of cold air. We talked about yesterday some of the hazards with this as we're in spring calving up here, but this is a really substantial Arctic outbreak with high temperatures struggling to get above 0 degrees Fahrenheit Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and it could continue into Tuesday. But the southeast is the last holdout for the mild air, and we see that in the longer range forecasts as well. I put in the report the European model, so to complement that, here's the GFS ensemble. And again, you can see the presence and influence of that southeastern ridge. But it's the contrast that sets this up as the active corridor going forward, and that's why we see that being the wettest spot in the country. So very cold, dry air coming in out of the north, and then mild air over the southeast. Now, how long does that last? There's some indication that we're going to see that cold air established fully through the first week of February in the Canadian Prairie, Northern Plains, Upper Midwest, Midwest of the United States. But there are some indications that the flow becomes a bit more zonal with time, which could start to bring in some relief from this colder air. But we do know this, the MJO is firmly locked into phase 3 right now and moving very little over the coming days. And historically, that does lead to deeper troughs that kind of orbit in this area with a southeast ridge. This is setting us up for exactly what I just showed you like that. So good strong teleconnection here with what's going on in the tropics. What's interesting, though, is MJO phase 3 is not, historically, does not give you this type of precipitation pattern in South America. This is the next 15 days, looking at precipitation anomalies. We're drier in parts of south central Brazil, really getting in here into like Paraná to Rio Grande do Sul. The Entre Rios area could be a little drier, but getting over towards Santa Fe, Cordoba, this area continues to see better chances of above normal rainfall. The very wet conditions from Mato Grosso, southern Mato Grosso into Mato Grosso do Sul to Goiás, over to Sao Paulo, but here, this area, or Minas Gerais, continues just to stay wetter overall in the forecast. And I think this is part of the reason why the forecast, the harvest progress is a bit slow. So we'll keep watching all of that as we kind of go forward throughout this week. So talk to y'all again tomorrow morning. Thanks.